Sharon D Clarke, who are great actress and played Grace O'Brien in a few episodes, as you may remember, in the 11th season, thinks Doctor Who missed a trick killing off Grace. Okay. The big quotation that seems to have got traction is the one on the right. The flack Jodie took for being the first female doctor was ridiculous. Someone said little boys no longer had a role model. Now, just while people start salivating, there's a bit more. She wondered why she was killed off so early by Chibnall, the great progressive. Clark said that she couldn't believe the character was brought to an end. I was like, people, you've missed a trick here. To have those different generations of women in the TARDIS was glorious. A black woman, a white woman, and a brown woman. And then just to kind of just wrap up before I get comments from the thread and from my panel. And there's the big quote about it being ridiculous for people having a problem with a female doctor. We weren't attacking Jodie. I'm going to say that very clearly. I was attacking the fact that you could be gender fluid, because I think it falls into another type of debate. And then I don't know why we need that comment. Someone said little boys no longer had a role model. What the hell? Look, I know the other stories out there. I have to say, if you look at the TV now, I'm not quite sure how many role models they are. And of course, knowing at school, we had a thread coming in about toxic masculinity. The boys were under attack on how they thought or behaved sometimes. And now she says, Ncuti Gatwa's funky, funny, charming, cheeky, sexy black doctor. We're on the front. Look, I know she's working with him, by the way, in the importance of being earnest. So that's okay, colleagues. But when she says Ncuti Gatwa is charming, cheeky, sexy black doctor. Well, forget the black doctor, because that shouldn't be relevant. Sexy, he cries. I didn't know men crying was sexy, and I'm nothing against crying, but I didn't think on the TV and in Hollywood that was the moment. Cheeky, Bonnie Lanford's character tells him off. I don't get it. Anyway, I'll take a break for a second and see what everybody thinks, because there's more to this race debate. This is just the starter for 10. Gary, I can say I've cheered you up now.
All right. Well, first of all, I don't blame her for not having knowledge of how the show developed, but Grace had to die because that was the start of Graham's arc. You know, his mourning her. And that's the reason why he went off on the TARDIS, because to help him deal with, you know, and get over it. And even what's his name? Ryan. I always forget his name. Their arcs needed her to die, so that had to happen. You know, and as for the other stuff, I do not want a cheeky, sexy doctor. Period. No. I mean, cancel me if you must. I do not want a cheeky, sexy
Where's
doctor.
this cheeky, and where is it? We've had 9 episodes of Ncuti. Where's the cheeky?
How about somebody with integrity?
I guarantee. Brendan, let me ask you: what do you think? What are the odds that Sharon Clarke has watched this entire season of Doctor Who?
Yeah, minimal. And this is the shocking thing, you know, speak when you're well researched and you've got good sources and all the rest of it. That's what I try and do with the Sense for Your Saloon. But equally, actors sometimes go for missteps. You know, there was another actress, you know, the lady who played Martha Jones's mum, who's in Bridgerton, who obviously, when she saw the coronation and the royal family balcony, said on TV, she said that looks like a very white balcony. And you think, we shouldn't be saying this.
And the flack that Jodie took for being the first female doctor, because she was monumentally wrong for the role and she didn't bring anything to it. That's why the flack, not because she was a woman. I mean, granted, there was the segment who said the doctor should never be a woman, which I actually happen to agree with. But that aside, she was just wrong for the role.
And it wasn't well written for her. And I think Simon Anthony has said that in the thread. I mean, there's so many different ways of discussing this, Michelle. I don't know which bits you want to pick on. But of course, I do have an issue with, first of all, being a Doctor Who fan. And over many, many years, you've built a character up. And if the argument now in TV is you need a strong female lead, write a show for that person. Don't destroy what you've got. They will never turn James Bond into Jane Bond. So why are you doing it to Doctor Who? And I know there was the joke after Logopolis, Tom Baker talking to the press saying the next Doctor might be female. Jane T played on that a little bit, but it was a joke. That was the point. It was a joke. They were never going to do it. Stephen Moffat then does that moment in, was it not Heaven Sent? It was the other one, Hellbent, and add the gender fluid Lord and chaos. Anyway, Michelle, where do you stand on this in this debate so far?
I'll take an actor trying to get relevance for 500, Alex.
No,
I think that's hard. That's harsh. I really think I can understand an actor going, "Oh my goodness, I had so much fun playing this character. I wish I'd been around more. You know, it's a shame that we had to be killed off. But again, we needed to have her death to be relevant for the storyline that they were going for Graham and Ryan. So I can understand her being, hey, I had so much fun. It's a shame that I died. I think she is definitely conflating and seeing that Ncuti as his person versus Ncuti as his character. So he may be in person this very charming, very funny, very witty person. But unfortunately, his Doctor has not been written as this. And what I thought his Doctor was going to be is totally, unfortunately, not what we're seeing on the screen, much to my disappointment now. And I really think this is pathetic, trying to go back the whole gender debate. I see it as a really... I'm sorry, I'm going to be cynical and see it as an actor trying to get relevance, trying to get attention.
Yeah, this is like a classic. It's like a classic.
And again,
Hollywood
it's once again throwing a classic Doctor under the bus again. Tired of it.
It's like a classic Hollywood Oscars speech at the end when they'll either mention global warming or something else. And
it's another attempt to try to throw Peter Davison under the bus again.
But the issue is come on, people. You know for a fact, she knows, surely Sharon D Clarke knows that look, Jodie Whittaker's ratings were because the scripts weren't very good. Her era was written by Chris Chibnall. That was the problem. She was probably miscast. She's a good actress. She was miscast as the Doctor. She also had those awkward lines at the beginning when she talked about the white male prism. I really don't know why she did that in an interview. It's a bit like Ncuti saying, go and touch grass. They've both started in the wrong position. And they're bigged it up so much that we now have a female Doctor that I was expecting a great delivery rather than... I think we call it virtue signaling now. There you go. We've got a female Doctor. Oh, and then you get the first story and you go, oh, well, I just fell flat. But yes, let's say it one more time. Sharon D Clarke, the ridicule, the anger, the flack was because the female Doctor, it didn't work. The stories weren't very interesting. And I have to say, if the criticism was sexist, I would call it out. But the criticism was from Doctor Who fans who were saying, I don't get this. And a bit like with what Gary said, I'm a Doctor Who fan who says, you're changing the character. So I'm challenging that. It's not flack against Jodie, though. Neil, what are your thoughts?
I've never said this. I've never had been sort of talked about this, actually. Here's a little observation from being a school teacher for nearly 30 years, actually. I started a Doctor Who club in 2002 at my school. And the children at that point were 9, 10. They'd never seen Doctor Who before. And a bunch of generally quiet boys. Okay, now just maybe autistic, maybe quieter, just generally a bunch of lovely little guys would come along. And I said, look, Friday lunchtimes, come and watch Doctor Who with me. If you want to, basically, if you want to break from having a football kicked at your head, come and sit in my room. We'll build a TARDIS and we'll put it, and we had literally VHS tapes and have a quiet, let's all just chill together and watch Doctor Who. We watched Tomb of Cybermen, Ark in Space. That little Doctor Who club started off with 9 children. It was 8 boys and 1 girl. Now then, by the time David Tennant kicked off, this club went to about 70, and I had to go into the school. I had to go into the school hall, and we had to project it. Okay. Now, by the time we got to Jodie's era, we were back to, get ready, about 8 boys, 1 girl. And when I talked to the girls about it, I said, you'll all be watching Doctor Who. Now we're not watching it. And the girls actually said, preferred David Tennant. Now, there's this misconception that I think that girls want to watch girls in certain roles all the time.
Right.
My wife always says, like, I want to watch Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, not a teenage girl. You know, I like, as a woman and a feminist, I actually want to watch Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And my wife is absolutely a feminist. So, you know, and then, so I just think, now, what I also think was growing up as a you know, I wouldn't say poverty. I would say we didn't have a lot of money. And Doctor Who was a big deal to me. I couldn't afford new clothes. My parents had lived through the war, so they were the sort of darn your socks and mend your clothes generation. And Tom Baker, what was wonderful was he wasn't cool. He wasn't sexy. He was somebody who opened my mind to the universe. I didn't feel I had to, you know, get the latest fashions, look slick, be sexy, be all the things I wasn't. He was somebody as a thinking little person, you know, looking back, who was interested in science and all these things. He gave me something to aspire to. I wanted to be a thoughtful, clever, you know, somebody, and also somebody who didn't care about what I was wearing, didn't have to have the latest things. And what Russell Davies, for my money, has done is he's turned the Doctor into like a marketing strategy for you've got to work out, you've got to be cool, you've got to be sexy, all the things that I still don't rate as being important to being a good human being. I rate being interesting, having things to say. And I think we've lost that with this blasted character now. I can't relate to it. And I don't think people come to the museum, very few are watching this version and can relate to it. And that's all I've got to say on it. You know?
Yeah, I'm quite shocked. I'm quite shocked at Sharon D Clarke going here with that last statement at the bottom there saying, you missed a trick. Now, as an actress or actor, you can say, oh, it was a great character. It's a shame she was written out. Oh, I was so disappointed. I think that character had so much potential. But I think Ryan would say that because once he was helped to ride a bike, is that it? And suck a thumb. There wasn't much else going on. But when she says, you see, what's this got to do with the narrative? We are Doctor Who fans, we are sci-fi fans, and we like a good story and a good concept. But when Sharon D Clarke says, to have those different generations of women in the TARDIS was glorious. A black woman, a white woman, and a brown woman. What's exciting about that? If she said 3 women in the TARDIS, I might have gone with the argument a little bit more that it might be, you know, pioneering.
Because it's about representation.
Exactly.
And that's all that it is.
And that's got nothing to do with a good story. And so she's arguing and attesting that basically, what a missed opportunity. You could have had lots of different looking people, skin colors in the TARDIS. And
I don't know. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't know what Sharon Clarke is complaining about. She had a whole episode named after her character. She was the woman that fell to Earth, right? She falls off the crane and dies. So it's like your episode was named after your character. You know, not a lot of people get that. So there you go.
It's just, I think
the other interesting thing, if you go back to season 18 for a brief second, you had Romana and the Doctor were kind of on par. You had a male and female Time Lord, and they were a brilliant team together. And in that particular season, Romana absolutely trumps the Doctor at times, and vice versa. It's just great, and that's how you play it. You can, you know, yes.
That scene you've just mentioned, though, should we just remind people who might think we're going down some strange road regarding the comments here? In Destiny of the Daleks, those regenerations, which I didn't quite like.
Oh, right.
Romana had blue skin. She had black skin.
She did. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Hello, Sharon D Clarke, as Neil has just said, we have had a lot of people with different skin colors way back. And Romana showed she could choose from them all, and they were all equal. It was just that some were too tall, too short. That was the joke with Tom Baker. This is my problem with the issue of all media at the moment, you know, Marvel, in Hollywood and everything, is make a good story, make a good character. But please, why does that have to be relevant? A black woman, a white woman, a brown woman. It sounds like it's the old joke, you know, you have an Irishman, a Scotsman, you know, it just sounds like, excuse me, we're falling down stereotypes again. It's just instead of having an Irishman.
Again, I mean, if I was running the show, here's what I'd do, right? I would say that just like on Earth, people's skin color is to do with pigment due to evolutionary change that is caused by how much sunlight they've existed for thousands of years. So probably you'd have black Time Lords in a very much more sun-laden area of the planet, and you'd have pale-skinned Time Lords, and when they are in areas where they don't get as much sunlight, and then they would regenerate accordingly. And because that would just make sense. But again, that's because there's a concept. But this has all been done because of DEI, so there is no concept underlying it. It's just we have to do it, and that's it. But again, I bring the science in.
Saying,
you know,
different generations having an older, more mature woman's perspective on life as a companion versus the younger person who is a little bit more, versus the alien and how they.
I would bring it.
That
Abe
would have been a
Sapien.
fantastic, interesting concept to see. And she just said we have different generations of people on the TARDIS. Yeah, because we got great ways of looking at things.
I would have an Abe Sapien type companion now, blue skin, purple, whatever. Let's just blow the whole thing out of the water and just give him a nice alien with a prosthetic and stuff the whole lot. That's what I'd do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this news item does not stop there.
Good.
So, Joe Martin also joined in. I'm jealous of the generation growing up with a black doctor, right? Now, okay. She starts off on that, and I've got plenty more. So let me just kind of set it up for you. So basically, why are we going there? Is Doctor Who good? Is it bad? Is it well written? Is the issue. Speaking further, and the fact that you've got a middle-aged woman, it just should never happen, really, because we're invisible if you're a woman past 35. If you're a woman that's not a size 8, if you're a black woman, you're kind of in the sideline, you're invisible. What now? So I tick all those boxes, and guess what? I'm visible, and I'm proud to fly that flag. And so here we go again. Colin Baker is my doctor. I've been watching Doctor Who from then. I'd use all my mum's foil to make up my cousins as Daleks, and I'd be the doctor. They'd say, but you can't be the doctor. The doctor's not a girl. The doctor's not black. And so when this job came up and it was revealed to me who I really was going to be, because when I originally auditioned, no one told me what I was auditioning for. And then she goes, I think if I'd have known, I would have blown the audition. She would have been too nervous. And of course, she now gets messages from Brazil to Australia about her representation from people of color. The fugitive doctor, as we all know and we've all said, is a stronger doctor than the Jodie doctor. Because she's almost like a cameo in one or two stories, I think she's just better written, better depicted, better costume, better TARDIS. The whole thing works. So did you hear the sexism there? I mean, God, I'm full of it. No,
I think she would have been a better doctor, period. She should have been the female doctor. They should have just had Capaldi regenerate, go black, and then we start the new series as her as not knowing who she is, and then discovering that she's the doctor. That would have been a much more interesting storyline.
And then we've fallen into this other thing now, which is you need to see yourself on TV. Now, we heard Neil's story about the Doctor Who club at school. I know I was ahead of you. I had Doctor Who posters all over my office, and people normally came to my office upset or highly emotional about something that's happened. So normally I hope that the posters would deflect them, and as they're looking around, not wanting to talk to me at this point, they're still not calm enough. They see a monster, they see something, they go, oh, I remember that. And it happened quite a lot. They'd suddenly kind of forget why they're in the office, as they're taking deep breaths, and they go, oh, I love that, and they'd start to talk about it, and then we'd deal with it. And as Neil said, and I concur, as we hit the Chibnall era, none of that was happening. The kids didn't know what I had on the wall.
I think I just want to think. I think that this quote, at least to me, is slightly different from the Sharon quotes we had before. Obviously, I think it's unfortunate that if you are a child and you want to like dress up or play a character that you like and admire with qualities that maybe you want to have yourself, strength and, resourcefulness and all of that. I honestly do think, and I'm really not being condescending. I do think that's unfortunate when any child has said, you can't be that for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. But there is a differentiation between kids wanting to play act as a character because, kids wanting to play act as a character and what the character on television should actually be. I think there's a differentiation there. I think that and maybe it sounds like it's apples and oranges, but for me, I can still say I don't think the actual doctor should be anything but, should be not a woman, not Black, because that's changing the character too much. And to me, that's yards away from, I would never tell like a little girl who likes the show, oh, you can never be, the doctor. I would never be. I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't translate to the character on television should be able to be anything.
But also there's a degree of reality here, right? I mean, throughout my life, I've had role models that I love, I mean, Tom Baker, John Pertwee. I'm not as tall as them. I just haven't got their character. I'm never going to be them. And that's okay. I accept I'm never going to have that strength of, charisma that those guys have. I love the band Rush. I wanted to be Geddy Lee. I'm not Jewish. I haven't got his hair and I haven't got the height and range of his voice. Now, as bitterly disappointing as that was, that's a fact. And I just accept that. I'm me. I'm strong at me. I will never be certain characters. Even as an actor, there's billions of characters I will never be that I would like to be. But it's okay. We've just got to move on. That's okay. It's like, why? Do you know what I mean? We've sort of got this everybody can't play, everybody can't be Isaac Newton, although they're trying hard. But everybody can't be Isaac Newton.
And like we said, and you were saying it earlier, that the Doctor. The Doctor was never cool. The Doctor was an outsider. The Doctor was a pariah. The Doctor had to use his brain. He had to outfox his enemy. He may not be a big action hero. He was like an anti-hero. That was the classic case. And everybody was equal in his head. That's why he even put the Silurians higher than the humans at one point, because he thought they were victims. The whole thing there was well established. So anybody, black, white, whoever you are in the world, male or female, you could actually see this Doctor as somebody speaking for you because he was an outsider. But now we've got the Ncuti Gatwa 15th Doctor, who gave me the loving, arrives at unit showboating like a diva.
Modesty is a wonderful thing. And the character of Guy Pearce plays the time traveler in the remake of The Time Machine. And I remember that coming out at the same time, around the time David Tennant was the Doctor. And I thought, wow, Guy Pearce has got a lot of charisma. And he plays this very modest time traveler who's not shouting about himself all the time. And he's a lovely character, and I warm to him. And we just could do with some integrity. Modesty is a really appealing feature in somebody. And we do. And in this iteration under RTD, the Doctor is depicted in such a different way. Whether you like it or not, I don't like the loss of humility. I find it fascinating that RTD is obsessed that the classic Doctors were all pompous when you've got this Doctor who's a diva. I just don't get it. Why is that better than being pompous? And I would argue they weren't pompous. Now, I just want to bring in the thread because there's some great stuff here. Hello, Garbage. I know you've been there for a while. From a straight white male point of view, in the last few years, I am shocked at the lack of white men in adverts. Where are they? Do a test later. Look at 10 adverts. Yeah, I've done the same test because in the 90s, I was colorblind. Very colorblind, just enjoyed TV and movies and adverts, actually, because there were great adverts in Britain then. Now I find I'm counting, going, why is that person there? They've done that. They've forced that by doing this ridiculous tick box scenario. Divine and Dragon, I know you've been there all along. I begin to feel with a common message from Martin and Clark that there is a push to change the narrative.
Well, there's a whole separate discussion to be had, because it's true not only of Doctor Who, but of a lot of things, of people's inability to enjoy a piece of entertainment unless they see themselves represented in it in some way, shape, or form. That's a whole other discussion.
So I'm not even finished. Can I just say one last thing on that? It's like one of my favorite comic characters growing up was Black Panther. I used to get the Jack Kirby American reprints, and I adored it. I adored Wakanda, the whole world of that. I love Black Panther. I made a Black Panther costume best I could. I knew I was never going to change my skin color. I love Black Panther. It's fine that I could not do that. I knew that was never going to be cast as Black Panther, and that's okay. Right. He was one of the coolest characters I knew. It's.
I find it interesting.
It's like growing up watching all the Disney princess films. I knew I couldn't talk to animals. Unfortunately, it's
exactly.
I
it didn't work out for you that way.
I was never going to be. Look at me. I'm a middle-aged fat white woman. I knew I was never going to be like, you know, it's okay. It's okay.
Richard Brown has an interesting question here. Change a black character to a white character and see how the black fans react then. And this is not where we should be. This has the whole debate in how characters are represented in the media. It's debased everything. And this is the problem. Richard Brown, I get your question. I know what you're saying. This is the issue. Suddenly, we've got a major change. I'll be intrigued if the James Bond has the first black male lead. It's a possibility, isn't it? Rob Fellows, if only you were related to people exactly like yourself, you would be totally without empathy and unable to understand a different point of view. Exactly. We don't want echo chambers.
And that's kind of where we're going societal-wise now.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't think the way I think, you're an evil, horrible person and you'll be cut out of someone's life.
Yeah. We've got to widen the scope. Good point made there. Claude, isn't it a shame that we have to address these issues? Well, we do, because they keep getting raised by other people. Just give us an intelligent TV show. We don't need all this baggage.
Right.
Doctor Who doesn't need it. It's been limping along.
Also, actors really aren't clever in their real life. They're, you know, they're not as smart as the average person. They're just the person who happens to do an interesting career, but doesn't mean they're smarter than the average person.
And we've got Peter here. The people like me don't matter because our opinions don't matter because we're supposed to be grateful. It's the people she was playing with, not everyone in the world. You see, this is it. You've got Doctor Who fans who are suddenly feeling got at, attacked, called out. Remember Dot and Bubble's whole structure? The narrative was to test us. I mean, this is not a good place to be. So, yeah, no, Gary, I could see
like I said, this may be naive. I'm not trying to be provocative, but I just don't because I've never been the one to ask this, but I just don't see how something is inherently less than if you don't see yourself represented in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm just not the one to ask that. I don't know.
I wish people. I mean, I don't switch on the telly to watch me. I switch on to get different cultures, different things, different experiences, different dramatic. You know, that's why I watch shows and TV and read. That's what it's about. Not to see myself reflected all the time.
Well, you see, as an English teacher, I think one of the old tried and tested quotes we used too much was to walk in, and it's from To Kill a Mockingbird, to walk in somebody else's shoes. That's the whole point of literature, fiction, plays, TV, movies, that you don't just see yourself. Surely that's the point. So it was.
I mean, I'm not. No, go ahead, Michelle. I'm sorry.
When I was going through grad school, the movie that resonated the most with me was The Princess and the Frog, because she's trying to get to a goal. It's tough. It's difficult. And I was going through the exact same time. It was some of the difficult challenge in my life to get my master's. And the song Almost There was my theme song. You're almost there. You're almost getting it. You just get through this, you know, goal, you know, the challenges, and you'll get your reward.
I'm enjoying Reese Roder. Good to see you. I'm a heterosexual English male. My favorite superhero is Buffy. So where's the representation? I know this is it. We don't need to see ourselves, and I don't think. And I can see what Gary's doing. We're not talking from a position as the majority or anything like that. We're just not. We're just saying I think TV and movies are about more than that. To Kill a Mockingbird is about. I mean, some would argue that even that's got an issue to do, you know, that it's from the white viewpoint, but it's a good story and it does preach to walk in somebody else's shoes. Atticus Finch says so.
I mean, I'm not a good swimmer. Does that mean that Baywatch is terrible? No.
Yeah, I can't swim, and I still enjoy Man from Atlantis with Patrick Duffy.
I didn't want to go to Man from Atlantis, Neil. But
I wish I had his yellow trunks and I could swim like him. But you know, at the end of the day, it hasn't stopped me. I don't switch off. I can't identify with a man who can swim underwater. How awful for me.
With webbed hands. Oh dear.
That's right.
I screaming during the Olympics. I don't care.
Then he moved to Dallas.
I loved watching Dallas. As a kid, a working class kid in Middlesbrough, we weren't rich and we weren't oil barons, but we loved Dallas.
There you go. Well, that's probably you liked it because they had the Man from Atlantis on it.
Well, yeah.
One of my favorite shows is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I got into in season 4.
Great show.
And it's a brilliant show. And I've got you can't see what I've got behind us. Never mind. What a great show. It's completely diverse. And I never, ever thought 1 minute it's about diversity, ever, because it's just done in an adult, sensible, seamless way. And it's just brilliant. And
let me remind you, while we're still on this race discussion, which I never thought we'd get in Doctor Who, because it's always been quite pioneering, I thought. However, I reminded people earlier that there was an article during the Matt Smith era, and there's a few things I want to show. And one is the BBC quote, because it just shows you how much the world has changed. But if I just show you this first of all. So Doctor Who is a terrible racist. Academics blast BBC sci-fi series, and you'll see I've zoomed in on a couple of bits, one on this page and then one on the next. Australian academic Lindy Orthia, you've all heard of her, have you? She helped compile the book. She said the biggest elephant in the room is the problem privately nursed by many fans of loving a TV show when it is thunderously racist. Why does she say that? She claims that the Time Lord is dismissive towards his black companions and shows contempt for primitive people. New book, Doctor Who and Race, questions why the Doctor, played by Matt Smith, would rather battle aliens like the Daleks and Cybermen than fight slavery. And on the right there, you've got the BBC sounding so unlike the BBC of today, saying casting on Doctor Who is colorblind. It's always about the best actors for the roles.
What's the name of the person who said that?
I know I shouldn't be making her famous, but there you go. Lydia Orthia.
Lindy, you're a dimwit.
I would say go right back to the Daleks in 1963-4, and he's fighting he's helping the Thals who are enslaved effectively. Oh, for God. Yeah,
I know.
So basically, this person's saying, I can't tell from Lindy, it could be a man or a woman, that if a show doesn't focus on racial issues, it's racist. It's like, okay, you are racist if you aren't preoccupied with racial issues. I mean, get serious.
But you see, okay, she must be. I don't think she knows what she's talking about. She's taken a series that then was nearly 50 years old, and she's nitpicked, which I suppose people, if they want to make an argument, can make any argument under the sun. However, on the right, the BBC, Disney, none of these agencies would say this now, would they? Casting on Doctor Who is colorblind. It's always about the best actors for the roles. I've teed us up because Sharon D Clarke is saying the narrative should have been different. Could have been better if it had a white woman, a black woman, and a brown woman. And suddenly we've got the talk about we need to put certain people on the TV for representation, for this, for that, for the other. And there's the BBC in the 2000s saying casting on Doctor Who is colorblind. It's always about the best actors. Gosh, in 10 years, the world has gone upside down.
We can kind of see the beginnings of it right here in this article. I mean, you can see where they're talking about it needs to be, diverse, and it needs to be, they're not understanding the analogy that good sci-fi, good drama, many times works very well with analogy, where you may not 100% reflect your world, when then you start thinking about it and you realize, like, wait a minute, this and this can stand in for this and that. It makes you think about, okay, so what's going on in our own real world?
And then, sorry, Gary, I'll just throw this up.
No, go ahead.
The Peter here, great point. They already ruined the Rosa Parks story. Now you see,
that should have been a straight historical. They didn't need to have it.
There's the media thinking, right, we're gonna have the right virtues and the right narratives and the right characters and the right representation. We'll do a Rosa Parks story. And of course, my issue with it, whether it's accurate or not, my issue is you had a black character helped by a female lead character, and actually a white female character was the one who helped her and nudged her and everything. The black female character couldn't think for herself in that way. She had to be nudged and poked.
But
and
anybody knew about the real Rosa Parks, you knew that was not. She was a strong advocate and social, justice champion long before that, and that was actually her decision, was a calculated decision that she made, the push an issue that needed to be taken care of, because there have been other people who were arrested for the exact same thing.
To choose that story and that character with Doctor Who didn't work, because you diminished Rosa Parks' character because she needed some sort of advice on nudging or something.
She got on that bus that day knowing she was going to be arrested.
I've always thought
brave and willing to risk it.
What about Gary?
No, I was just going to say really quickly. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michelle. I was just going to say that I've always thought that, if they end up gender swapping Davros, her name will be Davrosa.
Don't start. Don't even go there. I mean, we might discover that the Davros has legs and private parts. I mean, it might go further. That's
next season. That's next season, Brendan.
Yeah, we've seen Davros's eye open. We've seen he's got legs. We might discover more. He's got a skirt under there. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Neil, come on. You wanted to come in.
Oh my, no, I just don't. I mean, I'm sorry. What I'm actually thinking as I sit here listening to this is, I'm just thinking of just got me thinking of season 18. Wouldn't it be wonderful, right, if we got a completely new team in, and I get new young sci-fi writers coming to my museum here, and wouldn't it be wonderful if we started talking about concepts again? Yes. And stopped obsessing on this. Mm-hmm. So in other words, stories about a science fiction concept. And all of this is just dominating what should be a show about ideas. As I say, I was a little boy who looked up at the night sky and Doctor Who. I've just took my son to an observatory this weekend, and we went stargazing and had a wonderful talk by a chap who inspired my, and me again. And that is what I want to see in Doctor Who. I don't want to, and it's all gone so far off what Doctor Who was about. And also, all I'm going to say is I studied astrophysics, guys. And basically, I know what Isaac Newton looked like. He was an emaciated young bloke who was fleeing London from the plague. That's why he was in the countryside in that garden with the apple. Well, he was not a buff, preened model.
That's another.
That's not what he was. It's gone so far off kilter. It's crazy.
It's another good call out, because one little cameo like that you could dismiss. But add it to these quotes, add it to various other things, and you're going, oh, hold on a minute, because Isaac Newton's family, do exist. Isaac Newton, and how you want to depict him and toying around with historical fact is actually changing. I mean, why? I mean, they didn't change the Beatles, did they? They wouldn't dare, because it's too contemporary. But they thought somebody going back 100 odd so years, we can do that. Yeah. Their family still exists.
Well, not only that, just purely as a viewer, okay? I'm not, a lot of people, will know. At school, as a teacher, I've taught science, right? We know what this man looks like. And just as a viewer, as soon as that depiction of that character came on, it took me out of any drama or any reality, because I know he doesn't look like that. I know for a fact Isaac Newton did not spend hours preening his eyebrows and going to the gym, right? He was a brain, he was a thinking, but that's horrible. I don't mean, sorry guys, just to be clear, I don't mean because you go to the gym, you're not a thinking human being. No, but what I'm saying is Isaac Newton, at that point in his life, that's not the depiction. No. The reason that Van Gogh worked so well, not Van Gogh, it was Van Gogh, wasn't it? Sorry, worked so well was because they cast him perfectly. So you could suspend your disbelief, expertly in that. It was expertly cast, that depiction.
And they kept it to that he was going to commit suicide. They kept it with the harsh reality that he had a brief little moment in his life. But then the ending still remained unchanged.
Right. So you can see this racial debate has come from, I don't know, I was blindsided by it. Bill Potts was a black character. Martha Jones was a great character, except remember the argument with Martha Jones is, why make your first proper black companion be unrequited love and fall in love with the Doctor? You didn't need to do that.